So first of all, I'm a longtime fan, but this character is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite that you've played. You were a mainstay. I used to work at a movie theater as a kid. Uh, you were at like every other movie it seemed in those '90s.
Oh my
So
goodness. I hope that's a good thing.
yeah, oh, it
But
was,
thank
yeah.
you. Thank you for that. Thank you.
So it's kind of surreal to get a chance to speak to you after being a fan and cleaning up theaters after your films and et cetera, et cetera.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So I'm curious, where does Uncle Jimmy rank for you among your roles?
I mean, dude, it's right up there. It's like, it's where it's the writing. You know what I mean? It's the writing. And I don't know. I just think Chris has this. He just, I think he's a remarkable writer. I mean, there's a sort of mystery to for me to because all I can tell you is that reading this stuff on the page is incredibly impressive, right? But then when you actually when you see it, you know, the team that he has around him, his Josh Senior, who's been he's one of his partners, his production and creative partners, and he's his editor, and he's on this. But it's a mysterious thing. It's my favorite kind of thing, right? It's like when you are watching something and it's almost like and you'll understand what I'm saying, the pace, the speed at which it can come sometimes. It's like rabbit punches, you know what I mean? It's like dook 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 dook, and the next thing you know, you're like staggering, and you're like, what happened? What I just watch, but Uncle Jimmy it's a wonderful, it's a wonderful character, and on the page, because you first you meet him, you go like, wait, who is this dude? Does he in the first in the first scene that we see this guy's like, hey, I came over here to say hello. I should be breaking your freaking legs. You know what I mean? And then we find out later, right? That actually this guy, he actually cares deeply about these people, and I mean they're his kids. You know what I mean? But what I love is, and what's another thing that's so remarkable about Chris is that he treats each of them very differently. He has a, he's like clearly, like Sugar has got his number, right? Abby, like it's like his, it's just like wrapped around his finger. Carm, it's like, Carm is it's more, Carm is Carm, and something very direct with him, but he's also, I think he totally appreciates how incredibly sensitive he is, and like what he's been through in the past, in season one anyway, in the past few years. And then Richie is almost to me, it's almost the most interesting relationship, because he's so tough on him, and yet, like we see in that flashback episode, right? We see him at the dinner table when, remember in the Christmas episode when Richie asked him for a job, and he goes, "I'll think about it." And then clearly he's shot his mouth off to Tiff, right? And when we finally sit down, Tiff is thanking me for giving him a job. And when I'm reading it, I'm going, "Oh God, you know, Cicero's going to flame him. He's going to absolutely take him apart." But no, he like, he takes care of him. And anyway, I could babble on and on about the character, but it's a lot of fun to play too,
Right.
because
You touched upon a lot. I'll get back to some of that shortly, because there is so much to this character, and a lot of it, there's a wall up, and behind it you don't know really who the true Jimmy is, but we get peeks of him throughout the last two seasons. So we're starting to be able to paint the picture a little bit better. What was the original pitch for you for the character?
I just got sent the script. I got sent the script. The original pitch was on the page, man. And I was like, and there's a shooting in Chicago. Excuse me, a shooting in Chicago, right? Where I shoot Chicago Med, 9 months out of the year for the last bunch of years. Excuse me. And yeah, no, that was it. Was like there it was, and there was those two episodes in season one, right? It was kind of a much more like hard ass visit. The first time we meet him, what do we do with his restaurant? Why do we even want it? It's like a church of pain, this place. because Jimmy associates it with his, his Carmi's dad, who, who actually he wasn't related to, but was clearly very close to, and he feels and he just kind of jumped into the vacuum when Carmi's dad took off. But the restaurant to him was like, what are you doing here? Why do you want it? And then we see him at the birthday party. You see this other side of him, you know what I mean? A little bit, but you see he's a little bit more, you see the history a little bit. But then it was, dude, it's like I was saying, it's like it's the writing, the writing, the writing, the writing, the writing. You know, it just landed in my lap. And we shoot on the same freaking lot. Well, that's not really a lot, but it's the same studio complex, if you will, in Chicago. So Chris claims that he didn't know that I was there. I think he's lying through his teeth. It's just trying to make me feel better, just trying to, fluff me up a little bit.
Besides what was on the page, is there anything you wanted to bring to him? Did you create a backstory at all? Like just how you develop this character?
Well, one of the things that was really clear to me, and one of the things really clear to me is that this was a guy who, one of the first things, actually, only detail that I talked to him about was the accent, and because it was clearly this guy's of an older generation, right? And having seen the pilot, I saw the people weren't really that accent wasn't really, it was Richie a little bit, but at first Chris was like, you know what, let's not do it. It's just like, because he's thinking about the Bears and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed to me just if it was, so it can be subtle about it. It was just a great way to delineate the generation in a way. And I'm working on Chicago, man. I drive to work every day with the people who become my great friends, who come from those neighborhoods, and so it was sort of like deep in my freaking limbic system, or whatever system. And I think that for me, for me, it's a great way, or I think for a lot of actors, but for me, it's a great way to hook into the character. It's like an outside in thing. I start to talk like Uncle Jimmy, and then boom, you're Uncle Jimmy. It's just it's supposed to, in a way, it's sort of like flicking a switch. But no, it was the first time I didn't want to meet Chris for the first time when I walked on the set, so I called him up just to say hello, and I sort of manufactured a couple questions about this or that. Hey, what about that speech about things? He goes, hey, say whatever you want. He literally, I swear to God, he said, say whatever the hell you want. He used a different word, but he said, say whatever you want. I'm like, huh? Huh? I said, I can say what's in the script if I want to, right?
So he's one of those characters that keep you on edge. Really, either he's your best friend or he's a huge thorn in your side. Is that a lot of fun to play? And
that's so much fun to play, and and it's sort of that it's so much more interesting when. Well, anyway, I mean, the characters that keep you guessing, they're very compelling. It's good for narrative tension, I guess, right? But especially with Jimmy, it's like like I say, that moment in Fishes, it's perfect because he says surprises you. You know what I mean? And then there's other times when he'll just out of nowhere, tear you one. And but yeah, sorry, I don't want to get away from your question.
that's all right.
Refocus me.
I'm enjoying what you're saying. I also, as a fellow Prusakowski, it was nice to see, Kalinowski on the cast list.
Totally, but also what I loved in terms of like the sort of the cultural anthropology of Chicago, though, it's like the Italian. His nickname's Cicero. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the sort of like the blending of neighborhoods, the blending of cultures. The sort of the Italian ski, right? The Italian pole, in terms of heritage, and that's so rings so true in terms of the amount of time I spent in Chicago. Yeah, Chris is so brilliant in the way that he uses time, right? Uh, I mean, I've never, me myself, just like I have a hard time keeping track of my day in a linear way. And the way I think it's another, we keep on talking about Fishes, even though it's the episode after that's my favorite, maybe my favorite episode of television ever, Forks.
Forks is
But the
fantastic.
Yeah, the thing, and Eben is just like reduced me to a puddle of freaking goo. You know what I mean? Watching him in that episode. But to me, one of the amazing things about Fishes is it happens 4 or 5 years before season one, and what's so heartbreaking about it is that you see, especially if it was relates to Richie, right? You see, I think that in Fishes, when Richie goes upstairs to check on Tiff, it's one of the most beautiful love scenes I've ever seen in my life. Because that's what it is, the love scene, even though they're just sort of talking about stuff and then yet literally, but we already know without having seen Forks, right, that relationship just goes to absolute crap, right? Which is so heartbreaking to know that that's going to happen. And then sort of the same thing, if you will, not quite as in as in as deep a way, if you will. Richie and Cicero's relationship. It was obviously in a much better place. It was in and you see Richie, like when he asked me for that job, he is stepping up. It takes a lot of courage. And I still kind of torture him. I mean, and the way it's funny, the way we shot that scene is like Chris and I, we sort of like really turned up the torture because first like there's this long pause. It's like, can I have a job? Can I have a job? And I don't know. In the script, it might have even have said, I was a little more positive about his chances. And it was just goes, it was like this long pause. It was like, I'll think about it. But then you see, but then the first time we meet, we see Richie and Cicero together in the series is that episode in season one, and they're just at each other, and it's all about how you know Richie's disappointed him, even though Cicero is the one who has the wrong had the wrong telephone number. Anyway, that's for real, bear geeks to go.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about? He's like,
Mhm.
why
Yep.
the hell can't you just pick up your phone? It's like it wasn't my phone number; it was actually Mikey's number I was dialing, right? But anyway, I just I think that is he just does that brilliantly. And again, the in the beginning of Forks, right? But like to talk about a muscular arc for a character, right? In one episode of television, watching somebody literally change before your eyes. How do you do that? And I don't even know how long it is. Is it 40 minutes, whatever? But there's that heartbreaking phone call where Tiffany calls him up to tell him that she's getting married, you know, and it's just like, and you can tell it's because there's still so much feeling between the two of them. She's trying not to, she's just does, she didn't want him to hear from anybody else, but her heart is breaking. She's like barely holding it together, and him too, So yeah, I think he's brilliant with the old flashback as well. I could have
Oh
been a
yeah.
lot more cogent about that. Brilliant with the flashback.
Hey, I love it. I really like I love that you get into it so much, and then that you see and you appreciate what the fans appreciate because there's so much there. Like in those two episodes between Forks and Fishes, I'm like you more character development, more depth and layers to these characters is delivered in what, an hour and a half or so than some series do across their whole runtime. Whole
I totally agree.
20.
And you know what I'm saying about the flashback though, right? Like the
Oh yeah.
power of putting that episode, 4 or 5 years ago, and seeing Mikey, but especially as it relates to no, and I'm telling you, it's such a treat, it's such a gift to be able to work on this kind of stuff. It really is. I mean, I've anyway, to answer the question you asked about favorite characters, I try to not, I got every character, whatever character I'm working on is my favorite character, but definitely looking back, it's sort of because again, it's you can do your job and it's just the nature of what we do, and then you sort of give it away, right? And then there's post production and blah blah blah. But yeah, I all I can tell you is that I am a phenomenally given like I kind of alluded to this before, it's always just phenomenally surprising to see what actually what there's what you shot, and then there's what you're looking at, and it travels, it goes a distance, as you say, like the distance between Fishes and Forks. And so confusing too, because Fishes is actually about forks, right? It's about Bob, or getting forks thrown at him, right? By John. But
Mhm.
it's about Uncle Lee getting forks thrown at him by Mikey, and then but it's actually called Fishes, and the next episode's called Forks because of because Evans.
And in the final episode, they run out of forks, which is like there's a big fork theme going on throughout this
Oh my
series.
God, I never even caught that. You're very good.
I try my best. Yeah, your scenes with
They,
cousin Richie in Fishes are had me holding my breath because I know that feeling of being in his shoes, and you have someone who can help you out, and you're like, geez, this is the future of this man potentially, and it's all Uncle Jimmy who's got it under.
it occurs to me that in shooting the scene, with Tiff and Richie, the table, we did the same thing. So drew. I tried to draw. It was because, well, why not? It was right. You got to draw out the torture a little bit.
Mhm.
It's like it's like, am I? So we just sort of drew it out, right? So it's like, is it gonna be thumbs up or thumbs down in the arena, right? From Caesar, and because that's just fun, right? But yeah, yeah, it sounds like yeah, no, but it's funny, you don't really think, like, all you're doing is just like getting on the pony and riding, you know what I mean, in terms of the writing and the character, and you can't be. And again, I think that's what that creates the distance of what I'm talking about between shooting it in a way and then watching it. You don't want to be thinking about, but you're doing what you're doing. You're being Uncle Jimmy, and so you don't think, you're trying to think too hard about you want to be aware where you are in the story and everything like that. But again, you're thinking about the scenes and how can we, like, again, like, draw out the torture. How can we, because it's a power dynamic too, right? But what I also love is, you see, again, what's so heartbreaking. This is really the beginning of their. He's known Richie since he was a little kid. It's like Richie's one of his kids. He's just that he's toughest on him because I think he's older. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And but you see there's definitely a power dynamic right there. But there's also, it's like you're saying, there's these two things. There's a power dynamic, and then there's this real love. I mean, yeah, I think he loves Richie. I don't know if Cicero even admit that to himself, but he definitely cares deeply about what happens to him.
Do you like the guy? Do you like Uncle Jimmy?
I love Uncle Jimmy. Oh yeah, you got to love the characters you're playing. You playing a serial killer. You got to understand him. You got to love him. You got to. If you're judging a character that you're playing, you're deeply in trouble. Um, you can judge him afterwards, right? But while you're doing it, no, but I love Uncle Jimmy. I love Uncle Jimmy for all the reasons we've been talking about. The sort of the complexity of it, and you know it's always really fun as an actor if there's a distance between what you're saying and what you're thinking. You know, it's like, what's Uncle Jimmy saying? What's he thinking?
Yeah, there's another moment that you kind of behind this, or let's say pulls back the curtain a little bit on Uncle Jimmy, the uh, the chocolate banana. I thought
Oh,
just with a simple expression on your face, not simple maybe, but this expression on your face, like you see the humanity. It can't be contained.
I think that that was like a roundhouse for him. I mean, that's when Richie just really, I mean, and it shows you Richie was listening, right? And it's all part of the transformation of Forks. He was taking data he took data that he had about the customer, right? This is what he learned at that restaurant, right? My story about the frickin' chocolate banana with my dad and stopping off because Tiffany's eating, and it's almost like a throwaway story. But again, it's you got both Evan, but again, Chris, a tremendous amount of credit for just planning. I mean, again, the writing is so efficient. It's so. I use the term muscular all the time because it is. It's like, and I think that they put that thing down in front of Uncle Jimmy, and it's like it takes his breath away, and he doesn't want to show the emotion. You know what I mean? But he's I think that's what he's desperately trying to do, is not show, but you can just tell he's like, it's a roundhouse. It comes out of nowhere. He's just, insanely beautiful moment, that Chris created there, I think.
Your eyes say it all in that moment.
Yeah.
It's all right there. The entranceway to the soul, or whatever they say. And do you have a favorite moment as a character besides, it can be the ones you mentioned, but any others that are standouts?
The first moment where I really, yeah, I don't often laugh out loud when you're reading. I'm kind of it's like, if as an actor you're sort of like a student, when you're reading a script, you go, okay, oh, that's funny, and then I go, oh, okay, that's funny. But when I read that moment, when at the birthday party seeing dogs, right? When I come out there and Carmi's just realized that all his Xanax went in the punch, and he confesses to me, and he looks out, you know, at all the sleeping kids, and he's like, are they dead? He didn't really, and he goes, oh, I'm kind of into it, because he's that's just, I like it. We've been there, like, that birthday party dad thing. It can be a little overwhelming. Sometimes he's going, oh, I got a little break now, a little break, nap time for the kids. I'm into it.
So much fun. I love where the show goes, and it goes in so many unexpected places. I can't wait for season 3, which I'm wondering, is there anything you could share about the upcoming season?
As you can imagine, we're on serious lockdown about that. I mean, all I can tell you is it's the same. One of the things so remarkable for me about season 2 is that it's actually so wildly different. I mean, as you say, the directions, the tangents, those extraordinarily beautiful episodes where you see a character go off on their own and do their thing, and you learn so much about them. And again, often happening in the past. But it's the same. I mean, all I can say, it's arguably, I don't know, even more adventurous in that sense. For me anyway, it's a good thing. But it's, yeah, I think you're gonna like it. I don't know what else to say. I think you might like it, but I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen nothing.
I'm
I
going to
got I
trust
got a
you
feeling though. I got a feeling based on yeah. I think you might like it. I mean, you're clearly somebody who enjoys the show and into the minutia a little bit, and you're gonna learn a lot more about stuff.
That's what I really liked about the second season, was that you could have said surface level, and it could have, but we got to explore all these characters deeper, and often in ways that you wouldn't expect, and even seeing, like, their home life and their families, which, it took us out of the restaurant and into, what really makes up these people. So when you have these relationships, there's much more, what's the word, like, traction between them. There's more, it's not just like, I'm here, I'm A and B, and it's like there's connecting tissue between all this world that's in this restaurant. It originates here, but then it spreads out much bigger.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's so many people, given the success of the astonishing, so unexpected, I would say, success of. I mean, I think I read it. I thought it was brilliant, but just because I think something's good. I mean, these days, you have no idea what's going to happen to what. I think FX had no idea. They loved it, or they wouldn't have made it, but they had no idea what was going to happen. And then to have sort of like that type of success with a first season, and then to have to go in such a, you wouldn't blame anybody for just going, okay, let's kind of try and do that again. You know what I mean? But it never even occurred to Chris. He knew exactly. It was deeply personal to him, this material, right? And so, I mean, it's almost like, I don't want to get too freaking airy here, but it's like he's almost like a novelist. You know what I mean? And it's like season 1 is book 1, if you will, or chapter 1. Season 2 book. I was just amazed by where season 2 went. And again, I think it's kind of it's more the same, which again, to me is a really exciting thing.
I seem like a chef. You know, he made, and the menu was great the first time, and you would go back in like, this is the same menu, and no, it's something completely different and even better. And now I'm like curious, what's my third visit going to be like?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's like you don't want to give them the same thing. They've had that, right? You want to give
Yeah,
them the same dish.
that's
They've already
it.
had it.
Let's do better. So let's close out with an easy one. 3 words to describe Uncle Jimmy.
Uncle Jimmy. Uh, oh man, I'm terrible at these things. I'll try. I'll try. He's well, you know what he is? He's like maybe that's in 3 words, but he's the classic, like the the scary crust and the soft center. You know what I mean? It's like the exterior is like, oh God, and then it gets revealed that no, he's actually, but the great thing is like, because at the end of the day, he's a businessman, and we know how dangerous it is to go into business with your relatives, right?
Mhm.
Not smart, but Carmi offers him this deal. After he's revealed that he not only did he find the missing 350 grand, but he's asking for another 500. He then says, "Look, it's take a year, and if we fail, you can have the lot." It's what makes is what we've been talking about. What makes the character so much fun to play is the sort of the distance between what he wants to put out there in the world and what he's actually thinking. And again, and what is revealed about how you meet him and you go, who is this guy? He's a freaking scary guy. Is he gonna break Carmi's legs? He actually thought about that. And not that he was serious, but he's using you, even though he's sort of making the joke. Anyway, crusty, warm, I don't know. Steve,
How,
I'm not trying to, I'm really
how about
bad at this.
behind the crust?
But yeah. Yeah, what's under the crust? What's under the crust?
That's close enough.
Okay.
It's not that
Sorry.
strict of a.
I wish I could have done better for you.
No, no, it's
Um,
fine. I like what you're saying. That's what I really want to do is break down that character into, simplified, uh, phrase or so.
or
So I'll
what,
take it.
what's he gonna do? Right? What's he gonna do? What's gonna not that he's so sort of like it's not like I don't know, Marlon Brando on the waterfront, that kind of like, oh my God. But it's like you don't know
Mhm.
how he's gonna respond. How does he maybe we come with 3 years that relates to his kid. Like how about like, I don't know, that's your dad? What a dad. Oh well, that's yeah. Anyway, maybe that's your dad. What a yeah, something. Anyway, we have a couple versions there, maybe you don't have to use any of them, but
You know what? Well, I'll use them all. That's fine. And I'm sure everyone will appreciate the insight. So thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed talking to you. I love watching your work in the series. When I heard I had the opportunity to speak to you, I was like, I must, because you're just excellent on it. So thank you for this time, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do in season 3.
oh, thank you so much. I had a lot of fun talking to you.
Thank you. And me as well. My pleasure. Have a great
Okay,
day.
enjoy your day. Bye bye.